fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's going with the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top
Oh
now!
my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Are you new to sim racing, or maybe a veteran struggling to reach the next level? Have you ever wondered how the aliens reach impressive lap times that seem impossible to achieve? If so, you're not alone. Most drivers reach a certain level and get stuck. But getting faster on track is easier than you think. VRS coaches are some of the best sim racers in the world and offer one-on-one driver skills training at affordable rates to help new drivers learn the basics and help experienced drivers break through to the next level. Are you ready to get faster and get off the iRacing roller coaster? If so, VRS one-on-one personal training is for you. If you've invested in your equipment, it might be time to invest in yourself. Just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a 30, 60 or 90-minute session with one of our world-class coaches, and you'll learn exactly what to do for faster lap times and more podiums.
Welcome to Daytona. It is round 9 of Stock Car Racing Asia Pacific Truck Series presented by Aussie Online Gaming and SimSpeed. This is Scrap at Daytona International Raceway. It's going to be a very, very interesting night. Over 55 laps of racing. One pit stop, at least for the drivers, will mean that strategy is going to be very, very important, especially depending on when the cautions do come out. My name is Jay Kennedy. Alongside me, as ever, for this series, Cameron Dance. Cam, we love this track. It always provides amazing racing, and the best thing about this track, you never know what to expect.
Yeah, 100%. If there's one of the tracks that's going to provide one of the most unpredictable and biggest lottery races you could possibly race, it's going to be this one, because of the fact that you have no idea what the outcome is going to be from the moment you see the green flag to the moment you see the checkered flag. So it's all about just keeping your nose clean, making sure you're being smart, trying to avoid the carnage, putting yourself in a position to avoid the carnage, and then also trying to put yourself in a position to win the race at the end as well.
100%. Before we get into the race itself, though, let's have a quick look at the championship standings after last week. At Michigan, Matt Danson still leads the way, but that battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and on, that is very, very tight. Dan Yeaman has a little bit of an advantage over Mazomo, Martin, Dan Stevens, and Jaden Russell, but it's a real lottery race, this one. We know that anything can happen, and the points will definitely shuffle around and be changed after tonight's racing. Matt Danson will probably already mark this one down as an L. He's qualified, well, hasn't actually put in a lap in qualifying, so he started at the back. He has to get lucky to make sure he doesn't get involved in any of the wrecks that will, no doubt, happen at some point.
Yeah, 100%. And we've seen Danson be very, very competitive in this series and have some very, very good luck, but also some bad luck at times as well. So he'll be hoping to try and keep himself out of the carnage starting down the back. It's going to be a little bit of a challenge to try and do that, but he is at least not going to have too many cars sitting up behind him. That's going to cause some issues should there be a wreck in front of him.
We'll keep up to date on what's happening with that championship picture in the back half of the field throughout the night, as well as we have a live tracker working, so we'll keep up to date with that. But Daytona, I mean, it doesn't need a huge amount of introduction, but we're going to do it anyway. Everyone knows how an oval works, but this one very, very unique in that it's huge, it's full throttle, and in these trucks it's going to provide chaos, mayhem, excitement, and unpredictability.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And just the sheer size of the track as well means that the unpredictability is going to happen a lot quicker as well, with the fact that you're doing some crazy speeds around this sort of track. It's not so bad in the trucks with the fact that you don't have as much power and that sort of thing, but it certainly makes it a little bit of a challenge if you get it wrong.
100%. Banking pretty extreme as well. 31 degree banking in the turns, course 18 in the tri-oval. The back straight is banked slightly. We're in about 4 degrees as well. Pit lane, though, very, very crucial. 88 kilometers an hour, 55 miles. Very, very easy to speed on pit entry. So drivers are going to have to be very, very careful of their approach, especially if we see a green flag stop. I don't think we will, but if we do see green flag stops, that's going to be absolute chaos and mayhem. We're going to see big, big wrecks potentially at that point. And new tyres versus old tyres late in the race also going to be a very, very big factor in how this race plays out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's going to make passing just that little bit easier if you're trying to go around the outside or trying to go through the middle as well. If you've got new tyres versus old tyres, we're going to really struggle to get off the corner if you're somewhere on like the bottom or the top, and you're really struggling to keep it out of the wall as well. So making sure you're on the right condition of tyre at the right time is really going to be important, especially in that late run to the line.
So this is the race itself and what we will see tonight here at Daytona. Around about 40 laps to a tank max. That's in absolute peak conditions, but unlikely that we'll see that sort of number. The pit stop window, we're probably going to see people go as long as they can in the hope that they do find themselves in the right side of a potential caution, which will come at some point, no doubt. 2 spare sets of tyres, so they will see a tyre change at some point, and that 1 fast repair, which we will see used, no doubt, if we see a huge one in this race, as well as the drivers just get ready to get themselves out on the track. Let's go through our starting grid. We've got Daniel Stevens, position number 1, ahead of Colin Bruns, his teammate, and MFR front row. Ryan Jones in third position, with Darren McKenzie in 4th. Jeffrey Aldous in 5th. Brenton Hobson in 6th position. We've got Dave Douglas, Caleb Hydes, Michael Skurlock, Tim Weston, Nigel Patton, and Dan Yeaman rounding out the top 12.
And you're going to have Jane Russell and Michael Shaw on the next row. On row 7. Row 8 is going to be Kobe Williams, Simon Zomo, Ashley Lear, Matt Danson going to be on row 9 with Matt Bailey and Mitchell McLeod rounding out the top 20 on row 10, and then Sam Stride and Aaron Russell to round out the field.
And the one driver missing there, I think, is Byron Phillips as well, who will take the start because he didn't set a lap in qualifying. His name didn't want to appear on the timing sheet there, but as per usual rules in Scrap, we will see either a lap race or a time race. We hope to get through all 55 laps, but if we do see a couple of cautions, that could eat into that as well. And I'm excited for this week. It's a race that drivers love or hate. I mean, they love being in it, but they hate being in the back of it. They don't want to be involved in the wrecks, but they love being in the fight that you get at these super speedway races.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, sitting down the back isn't the worst strategy in the world as well, in some regards, if you're all working together and all know what you're doing and not taking too many risks. We've seen guys sit down the back and actually make up a lot of positions and a lot of time later on in the race as a result of just playing the cautious game for the early stint and then going a little bit more aggressive and trying to fight their way towards the front later on. So we'll see if anybody's going to be able to try and make that work, or whether it's going to be more about staying at the front and trying to save as much fuel as you possibly can, as well, as that's going to be probably the biggest talking point over the fact that you can lead for the most of the race, but if you put yourself in a position where you're going to be in the pits longer, then you're not going to be really winning this race probably.
So here we go. Green flag flies and a very, very good launch from the front of the field. Everyone gets away cleanly and a little bit of lane weaving already. No surprise, but very, very clean, methodical start. A few drivers will drop back in the field as well very, very quickly. Other drivers will try and get to the front as quick as they can. Generally a mix of what drivers want to do, and we're already seeing Ryan Jones trying to push Dan Stevens. Ryan Jones will be trying to get himself clear of Colin Bruns on that outside line and probably go high to get himself out into no traffic ahead of him. We're going to see a lot of this throughout the race. A lot of pushing and shoving, toing and froing, but not much movement other than the occasional driver dropping back to forcibly give themselves a little bit better opportunity later on in the race.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be all about just being patient at the moment, working together, making sure you're not enemies with anyone and making sure you're friends with everybody at the same time. So we're going to see what happens. As we've already got a car off in the infield. Luckily, no caution. It is Ashley Lear who got caught up with Byron Phillips down at the back. So Lear's going to have a lot of work to do and probably going to lose a lap as well, with the fact that he's got a lot of work to do to get back to the field. But a caution will help him if it comes on out. But still side by side down the back straight. Daniel Stevens is getting absolutely dropped by that outside line with Bruns and Jones working
Oh,
together.
no.
Jones going to take the lead as that's a big crash behind.
Yep, Jaden Russell is sort of cut down. Mitch McLeod involved as well. Matt Bailey, Sam Stride, Michael Shaw, Aaron Russell. So Ashley Lear, the only talk guy that didn't get involved in that one. That's because he dropped to the back from that other incident. We need another look at that because that was a rather big one. You already see damaged trucks everywhere in this group as well. Let's get a virtual racing school replay up on screen and try and dissect that because I think there might be a bit to dissect.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened, but it sounds like the top line might have checked up a little bit too much, and as a result, there was some contact. Mazomo involved in that mainly by the looks of it, and pretty much got hit from behind by the looks of it, and then everybody else sort of ploughed on it, and Aaron Russell, unfortunately, being the one who caused the initial contact, and unfortunately everybody else sort of ploughing on in as a result.
Being able to push is a very, very fine art, and some drivers are masters at it, and some drivers, little inexperienced, can find themselves trying to push at the wrong point. Field checked up. I don't think Aaron realised that the field had checked up on that outside line, so, I mean, sure there was contact. I don't think he really knew what was coming. I think that everyone just checked up way quicker than he was expecting.
Yeah, it was really, really weird. Not cool. It's really hard to gauge
It's a
what's
weird
actually
checkup,
caused.
wasn't it?
Yeah, it's really hard to gauge what the big checkup was actually all about because of the fact that they were still pretty much flat out. And Jones, who was on that top line as well at the lead, pretty much managed to get to the lead as well. So not quite sure where the actual checkup just stemmed from, whether it was just the fact that Jones ran out of speed or what the story was. But yeah, it was just really, really weird.
You can see there, Jones didn't check up from the lead, so as you said, just an unusual incident there, and that one, I think we have to put down to a racing incident because when you go back and look at it from every single angle, you can't really put one driver completely at fault.
Yeah, it's probably, I'd probably agree with that, to be honest. So we see Leah and Mizomo on pit road getting some repairs and also tyres put onto the car. So they'll have used at least one of their sets so far.
And using the spare truck straight away, Sam Stride, Ashley Lear, Simon Mizomo, Byron Phillips, Aaron Russell, Jaden Russell, Mitch McLeod, and Matt Bailey. Michael Shaw is in the pits now, but has not used his spare at this stage, but I would think that that will change once he finishes his pit stop, as they all come down the back straight to find where the iRacing pace car is. That was a pretty crazy first little stanza, and fingers crossed we see a little bit more green flag running than that. A few laps.
Yeah, gonna be at least 50 laps to go when we go green, so it's still going to be plenty of racing. It's still going to be at least a pit stop for fuel and tyres for majority of the field at some point, but very, very good start from Ryan Jones to get himself to the lead already.
He almost wasn't going to race tonight as well. He was unsure whether he was feeling up to racing. Decided at the last minute, yeah, all right, I'll race. Puts it in third in quali, but it hadn't had the best run of races in official racing this week so far here at Daytona, so he'll be looking to have a little bit more luck fall his way. He's definitely got good pace considering the run that he made to get himself into the lead of this race early on as the lights go out on the iRacing sedan, the pace car. Get ready to go green when we cross the line next time.
Yes, sir. So we'll see what's going to happen. Jones is going to be starting on the inside in the lead as well with Bruns on his outside. So imagine Stevens is probably going to want to get to that higher line and get in front of McKenzie, or depending on what's going to happen with Bruns, it'll be interesting to see how the MFR drivers work together.
Yeah, well, they couldn't really work together on that first launch because they were in opposite lanes, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Stevens back off a little bit to let Bruns through, or if he can, he'll try and break away and get up to be clear of Bruns, and fingers crossed for his sake that he can leave a little bit of a gap for his teammate in Colin Bruns to slide into. Jeffrey Aldous, if I can speak words, he'll be trying to make sure that that gap doesn't appear for those guys to work together, because two drivers that work together in tandem can be very, very tough to beat in races like this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and especially when it comes to crunch time as well, we've got a little bit of a roadblock going with teammates in the likes of MFR, but green flag is back in the air. Very, very equal start from everybody, including that second row of MFR cars, and see what's going to happen with that top side line and what's going to happen with that lower line. There looks like a gap for Bruns, but he's not going to take the gap, and instead Aldous is going to slot in behind, and that top line is getting absolutely left behind.
Wondering there if he wasn't quite 100% sure on whether that gap was free, but you saw there too, Daniel Stevens has decided, or had decided for a moment, to light it up to the outside and help Bruns, but he had too good of a run, and Bruns now is clear on that outside and already side by side, as you can see there. Darren McKenzie slide down. So we're 3 wide in the mid-pack. Matt Danson doesn't want to abide by what everyone else is doing. He throws it 3 wide. But the middle is we're 3 wide at the front, with Dave Douglas making that third middle lane work. And Ryan Jones comes to cover it off.
Yeah,
interesting tactics already.
Yeah, he's jumped up at pretty much the right time. Goes back down to the low side though, and is going to stay down there through 1 and 2. He's going to help Stevens. He's going to slot right up the line. Really going to have anyone helping at the moment, but Danson's going to keep trying to help.
Yeah, Danson will probably be happy that he's moved himself up to the front, but sometimes being right at this front spot can be where you find the danger in this race. Often first is the best place to be, but I reckon that third car back is usually the most dangerous spot to be in these races, because that's where the action can magically appear. Even when you think there's nothing happening, all of a sudden you find that third car back is where the spins happen, the contact happens, and the incidents happen as Dave Douglas and Daniel Stevens work together to get ahead of Ryan Jones. Jones back to 4th, Daniel Stevens back to the lead.
Yeah, very, very good move by Stevens and Douglas to work together. Danson getting a little bit of a from behind from Skurlock as well, so we'll see what's going to happen on the top one, but not really going anywhere at the moment. They're just alongside Douglas's Danson, so we'll see what he can do, but starting to come up towards Stevens now and starting to make some inroads.
Interesting at the back, you see a few teammates dropping back to start to work together. You see Hobson's dropped off the back of this group to start to work with Jaden Russell. So they're starting to work up in 2-car groups. The 3-car group at the back there of Ashley Lear, Aaron Russell, Mitch McLeod, the 3 Talk Boys all working together. You can see Caleb Hides and Dan Yeaman at the back also working together. So these little groups of teammates starting to find each other on the track, trying to work out how they can make moves and work together, as Matt Danson now gets himself ahead but won't be able to get down to the bottom lane. Or will he? We'll take that as yes, he can.
He has indeed done that, and now Stevens is going to be right on his tail to try and give him a little bit of a push. Skurlock's going to get left out to dry on the high side, and he's going to have Bruns pushing him as well. So Danson has made a very, very good move to get to the lead of the race, and now Stevens and Douglas really going to apply the pressure with pushing now.
Definitely are. There's starting to feel like, even though we're only 10 laps in, there's a little bit of urgency starting to happen. You can see there, on the outside there was someone, one of the drop bear cars got forced wide into the wall. It may have been Caleb Hides, who was running that really wide line. I'm not sure who it was, but there was definitely a drop bear car that ended up in the wall on the outside. Tried to make it nearly 4 wide coming into turns 1 and 2. Not a good idea at this stage to go 4 wide. 3 wide often is frowned upon at this stage of the race, but these boys don't care. A lot of the very, very experienced oval drivers in this front group that you can see at the moment, Danson, Jones, Stevens, McKenzie, have all raced together a lot, as well as Dave Douglas, so they'll all be used to each other and racing hard with each other. The X Factor's in the middle of this, so Byron Phillips hasn't raced a lot with these guys. Colin Bruns has raced a decent amount of oval, but not at the level that these guys are running at the moment. So they could be a couple of X factors in this one as well. Simon Mazzomo, he has learnt a lot of oval racing lately, but it's the end. Mazzomo definitely hasn't raced anywhere near as much as his contact. And that was Byron Phillips. He changed lanes there, it looked like. But Dan Yeaman takes to... Oh, sorry, that's Kobe Williams taking to the grass and survives.
Yeah, unfortunate incident there, and it kind of actually looked like Stevens came down into the front of Byron Phillips. Phillips was going to try and take it 3 wide down the back straight, but unfortunately it all went pear-shaped, especially for Danson and especially for Stevens, who got some serious airtime off that wall and off the impacts that he ended up having.
Yeah, that was a strange one there, wasn't it? The sort of all of a sudden it ended up 4 wide, although Jones was definitely behind the truck of Matt Danson, so he was never going to try and make that move. But crazy incident. You can see there's a tiny little bit of an overlap. I don't know if Stevens realised there was an overlap, but in saying that, Byron Phillips, those are the situations where you have to double check whether you actually want to stay in the throttle or not, and especially with already using his fast repair. I don't know if Byron Phillips was right in doing that, but we'll see what the fallout from that one is post-race, but we expected carnage. We've seen a lot.
Yeah, we certainly have seen a bit of carnage, and also just going back and looking at the replay myself, it's also looking like there was a little bit of a wobble from Stevens off turn 2 as well,
Yeah,
with the fact that Byron Phillips was pushing, so he was actually forced wide a little bit, possibly just came down to try and form back up and didn't expect Phillips to try and come into the gap that he was originally in. But we are seeing our first round of pit stops by the looks of it. Everybody coming on into the lane who hasn't pitted yet.
And the drivers that
take a set of fuel and tyres.
Yeah, around about 1/3 race distance, close enough too. So come in now. The only drivers that have not come in are Bruns and Aldous. They'll stay out. Everyone else will come in and at least get 2 tyres and a tank of fuel. Some may take 4. Ryan Jones has taken 2 tyres. I can see that on the timing. Lots of drivers that are doing some alternate strategies here, and some drivers will be forced into taking their spare trucks. Some that'll be rather happy because they were a long way back at that restart. Now we'll have to work their way forward. I'm noticing too, Daniel Stevens is now 2 laps down, and Simon Mazzomo 1 lap. For what's happened there with Mazzomo, he must have got caught up in the back of that incident as well, and guessing that Dan Stevens was forced to tow, but may not have finished doing the towing period at this stage.
Yeah, so clearly a number of victims out of that one, unfortunately. Danson and the others, the likes of Stevens and Phillips and a few others, unfortunately having to tow or sit in pit lane for an extended period of time at this stage to get repairs done, especially the likes of Mazzomo and a few others who have used their fast repair already as well.
Just trying to count how many have used in comparison to not. So 23 cars in the field. "13 have not used 8. Sorry, 10 have. So, yeah, you can make that 9 left. 12 left with a spare car, and 11 that have used it now that Dan Stevens is back out. Sam Stride has come back in for another pit stop, so he's going to go a lap down, so he'll be getting a fair bit of damage fixed. Remember, he did hit under that first caution to use a spare car, so he's already at his quota. Byron Phillips has got a fair bit of damage, no surprise, but he has also used his spare. Seeing to Tim Weston is being forced to slow up. I'm guessing he's had, I'm going to say, a speeding on pit exit penalty for Tim Weston.
Yeah, I'd say probably the cat, or he's entered a closed pit, although it doesn't really make a lot of sense, so probably is going to be the former of a speeding pit lane penalty and will drop to the back end of the longest line.
Yep. And Jaden Russell, Michael Shaw, Byron Phillips, Matt Danson all try and make their way back up towards the back of the pack. They probably won't at this stage, so that means that they will have to hope for another caution, which you would think is going to come. Based on how this race has played out already, fingers crossed we don't see too many more. The interesting thing from this point too, with a bit of fuel saving, you can make it home from here. So if we do stay green, those that have actually thought about that as a possibility, as wild as it sounds, are in very, very good positions. The ones that aren't, obviously, are Bruns and Aldous because they haven't pitted yet, but the likes of Ryan Jones, Caleb Hydes, Darren McKenzie, they're in pretty decent spots right now if we do stay green.
Yeah, green flag in the air, and like you said, those who are going to be sitting in traffic are going to have the advantage of fuel saving, but we'll see what happens, as it's a very, very good start for Colin Bruns on the inside. He's going to have Jones trying to move himself down at the inside and get that second place.
And you can see the pace disadvantage from Aldous, and just on those slightly older tyres, 15 lap old tyres versus new left-hand sides or right-hand sides, depending on what drivers prefer. Some drivers go with the different tactics when they go 2 tyres at Daytona. Some prefer the outside tyres to have the extra grip, and some prefer the inside to have the extra grip, but there's lots of different factors and thinking around it in the sim world as to what is best. Doesn't necessarily relate back to what is best in the real world. You just see in the background there too, Tim Weston is coming in to serve a pit lane penalty. So guessing it was entering a closed pits and now forced to serve a green flag penalty as we got 3 wide at the front. Got the drop bear cars working together, Hydes and also who have we got there? Kobe Williams. Yeah.
Yes, the 2 drop their cars working together very, very well. And here comes Dancing around the outside as well on the high side. Draft up from behind, so he's managed to take a handful of cars.
Where did he come from? He was nowhere near this pack not that long ago at all. He was about 20 seconds off the back of the pack, so he probably had a little bit of pace advantage at the restart. Was able to catch up unintentionally. The nature of the beast. Sometimes with late racing, you can get yourself a little bit of luck when you come out of the pits and be at speed when the green flag flies and find yourself in the right spot. You can see heavy damage to the side of his truck. Still has that spare in the back pocket if he does need it later on, as we're 3 wide. It's behind the truck there of Michael Spiller, Cody Williams, Ashley, Aldous, all side by side. Side by side at the front, and way below the white line and the yellow line for that's Aaron Russell and Mitch McLeod as they get themselves back into order. Yes, that was a little bit of bump drafting gone wrong for those 2.
Yeah, it certainly was not too ideal, but we'll see what's going to happen. As Danson's managed to make his way to P2, and he's going to have Williams pushing him. Skurlock's managed to go back from nowhere as he actually hit the wall a little bit earlier on before that previous caution, so we'll see if he can make anything work. He's probably used his spare car as a result, but everybody else being a little bit more patient and giving a bit of a gap to everybody else.
May have seen there too. Kobe Williams is giving a little bit of a push to Matt Danson. Of course, Danson to get a little bit sideways, a little bit squirrely, a little bit nervous through the tri-oval. One of the guys that aren't as experienced in pushing in these sort of races learn very, very quickly that pushing through corners, definitely a no-no, and pushing right in the middle of the bumper is the only real way to do it when you haven't done it a lot. Guys are working that out, sadly, the hard way in some of these races.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of drivers who probably aren't as experienced in this super speedway stuff, so they've just got to be a little bit more patient and a little bit more sensible in how they're doing these things, and just try and get themselves to be there at the end rather than trying to put themselves in a position now.
Back straight past the bus stop chicane for the road course. It's front 4 I get so nervous seeing drivers almost drafting, almost touching, and then swiping down across the rear bumper of a truck through 1 and 2 or 3 and 4. Just always makes me skip a beat a little bit, because you know that that's how those big ones happen. Seen a reasonably big one already. We're definitely going to see another, there's no doubt about it, but hopefully it's closer to the finish than at this point, because we want to see as many trucks as we can finish the race. If we see one too early, we won't have too many left.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. But that's gone between Skurlock and
Oh,
Hines,
no.
and they're all in the wall with the big one.
There it is, right on cue. And that is a huge one. The only trucks that really have missed that are Ryan Jones and Matt Danson. Everyone else, in one way or another, has been involved. You can see Nigel Patton. He's got smoke billowing out the back of his truck. What has gone on to cause this? I mean, we sort of know. Bump drafting going wrong, but what exactly happened?
Yeah, well, let's have a look and see what's happened. I do wonder if maybe just Hides was up the inside and just, unfortunately, Skurlock wasn't quite ready and he's just turned down on him. And it looks like that's exactly what's happened. Unfortunately, he's ended up taking Williams and a number of others with him as well. That's a massive air as well from the 62, the 41, sorry, on the inside.
I'll just did a few somersaults there and has thankfully landed back down to earth and able to bring his truck into the pits. Remember, he didn't take a pit stop earlier, so guess what? He's doing it now. As Lucky Dog goes to Dan Stevens. And interesting, he has used the spare truck, but it's heavily damaged again. I was going to say he hadn't used his spare truck because of the damage that he sustained there, but definitely has used it already. You can see smoke billowing from someone up ahead too.
Okay, Williams, by the looks of it, staying out.
We'll be waiting for the pits to open. They would have, of course, been closed on that last lap, so he's waiting for them to open up. But interesting part will be whether the engine still survives for the pits to be open for him. Should make it one way or another, and I'm sure that the guys behind will push him to the pit entrance base. One of those things that we do see a little bit of sportsmanship in that aspect. Ryan Jones is in and already in his pit box as well. So these, see the engine has popped there as well. So Kobe Williams now. Now this is going to be interesting. These guys that have gone past could potentially get a penalty. Either Ashley is going to try and push. So these guys know that they can't pass. Those guys that have gone past, they're going to get penalties from iRacing for passing under yellow.
Yeah, so a couple of those guys, unfortunately, going to get penalties that they probably didn't want and didn't need as well. I must admit, though, Hobson's done very, very well to actually avoid that incident and ended up sitting now in P4 when he, prior to that caution, was actually all the way down in about 13th. So he's done very, very well to gain 10 spots and avoid most of, if not all, that carnage.
And also looks like he now used his first set of tyres. Actually, no, I think he might have just gone fuel only at that stop there. He's still got one set of tyres in the bank for later on, as most of the drivers will have at this point. Also see Ryan Jones definitely took 4 tyres on that side, both sides. So we'll see how that plays out. Most drivers will try and have one set of tyres left for a potential 10-lap dash at the end, but any less than 10, you're probably not going to pit for tyres. Just going to try and ride it out to the...
Yeah, no real point pitting very, 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 very late for tyres at this sort of a track where tyre wear is not really, and condition as well, is not really a critical factor in winning and losing. It's more about the fuel and more about just positioning yourself in the right places at the right time. So making sure they're not doing anything silly or trying to call a strategy that would not really work in their favour is really just going to be very, very important.
Tried to bring up the live points, but for some reason it isn't working, so I'll see if we fix that. So give me a second. still not liking things. We know that this advantage that Danson's got definitely will be helping, and Mizomo having what is now looking like a DNF. He dropped from that 3rd position in the championship, get overtaken by the likes of Jaden Russell, and maybe even who else was in that list before? I had the list up on my phone just before.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my
neither.
head either.
Daniel Stevens, of course, was it. As is Ryan Jones as well, surprising considering he did miss a round. So Ryan Jones in 7th. Yep.
Stevens is also probably going to DNF as well, based on the fact that he's still in pit lane and 2 laps down at this point as well. So he's not really going to gain too much out of this race as well. So Jones probably going to be the big beneficiary out of this one.
Remember, Stevens did get the lucky dog there as well, but very, very quickly not that advantage that he got from that. Finally raised 3 months again and get back underway. Very, very even launch. But yeah, the trucks to watch here will be the Synergy trucks side by side. 3rd and 4th, they'll be trying to make sure that they're not side by side for too long. Jaden Russell thought about dropping down. That gap got very, very quickly filled by Nigel Patton.
Yeah, and bear in mind, Danson still has a bit of weight in him as well, so he's going to be ending up in a position where he's probably not going to have the ultimate top speed that Jones and a few others behind are probably going to have. But Hobson is doing a very, very good job of pushing Danson here down the back straight on the way into 3 and 4, so he's keeping that lead for the time being, while Russell's not really getting close to Jones, but Jones is going to have that run off 4, and he's going to end up taking the lead off Danson as they come across the line this time by.
Few of the trucks that did get penalties under that caution for passing under yellow are now making their way into the pits. Mitchell McLeod has come in for a penalty to be served. A few others who did pass have actually stayed in the pits as well. I know that Dan Yeaman did get past. But the lead 8 sort of all together as Hobson. And had a little bit of a moment there. He's had to drop below the yellow line. A little bit of a push potentially gone wrong there from Nigel Patton. When he went to come up, the gap wasn't there anymore. Big winner out of that whole checkup on the inside row was Ryan Jones, who got clear, and Jaden Russell, who also got clear. But on the outside still, Dave Douglas, Kobe Williams, they couldn't capitalise on it. Although, have a look at the run that they've got on that outside line right now.
Yeah, the very, very big run on the outside at the moment does Douglas and Jones. And now here, Williams, and here comes Jones to get to the top side, but Williams and Douglas are going to end up slotting in back behind, and Russell and Danson are going to be left to hang out to dry a little bit on the bottom side, but now Jones is going to end up left to hang out to dry on the top side, and he's going to have Aldous coming up not too far behind. Russell backs out of it as well, does the exact same thing that Hobson did. Didn't get loose, he's just decided to back out of it. So wondering whether the two SSR drivers are trying to be a little bit safer and just trying to avoid any possible carnage and try and make something happen very, very later on.
I think they're thinking that there's still 30 laps to go, and the carnage that we've seen already is a chance of another decent one in this pack. Kobe Williams now leads Dave Douglas in second. We've got 8 in this pack at the front. Just behind you can see Caleb Hydes there, and then Jaden Russell, Brenton Hobson, who are together. Aaron Russell and Ashley Lear, who are together as well. First truck 1 lap down now is Mitchell McLeod, who had to come in and serve a 40-second stop and hold penalty under green. That is a huge penalty. As you can guess, that is a lap down. He's going to have to work very, very hard to come back from that, but chances are he will get a lucky dog at some point, unless there's other guys behind who get lapped as well.
Yeah, I'd say he's probably going to end up getting the lucky dog. Will Aldous at this stage, as he is the first car that is a lap down, so if we get another caution, his race will indeed be saved. But Williams at the front of the field being pushed along by Dave Douglas. Now Jones going to be trying to push Matt Danson on the higher side to try and make that secondary line work, but there's only going to be 2 up there, so they're not quite going to have the benefit of 3 or more cars pushing them along. Jones is really trying to make that top side work with Danson and trying to give him a little bit of a push. Got a little bit squirrely on the way through 1 and 2, but it's going to continue to give him a very, very big push down the back straight, but that inside line is still continuing to pull away.
T2 Dave Douglas has decided he's had enough of pushing and will work with the two of the more experienced drivers in oval racing in this race and in this series, that being Matt Danson and Ryan Jones. Those three working together, if those three work together, they could become an unstoppable force in this race for sure, because they are, as I said, three of the most experienced guys. They've all gone into 1, 2, 3. Ryan Jones is going to try and keep that outside line working. Nigel Patton closes up. We're past halfway as well. 27 to go.
Yeah, just past nearly halfway at this point, but Dave Douglas now on the low side. Now here comes Williams up the inside of Danson, 3 wide down the back, straight wide, don't you? And on that top side as well is going to be Nigel Patton trying to make it work with Ryan Jones. Is slotted back down to the lead on that inside line. Danson's gone back to the top side to try and work with Payton here, but whether it's going to end up working, probably not, as we've seen, but Michael Shaw will possibly try and make a move to the top side, but we'll see what's going to happen.
Interesting how much that we've seen the lead change in these races. Quite often you see in these ones that the lead doesn't really change. They sort of the same top two throughout the race and the pack just stays together, but seeing that outside line really work as good momentum and getting to the front has not been as difficult and as bizarre as you would expect in a lot of other truck races or oval races in general, super speedway races that is.
Yeah, absolutely. Looks like Shaw's going to stay on the low side and try and draft up to the back of McKenzie. Meanwhile, the Dogbear car of Kobe Williams still continuing to try and make that top side work, but not quite going to make it work. There's nearly contact between himself and Shaw.
Yep, Michael Shaw on the inside in the 07. Still getting awfully close. It's very, very nerve-wracking to watch how close these two are getting at the moment. They are surviving, but it feels like that, you know, we've watched enough racing in general, oval and road, to get that sixth sense to know where the incident's going to happen, and you feel like that is the point in the track where the incident was going to happen. Thankfully, Kobe Williams was on the outside by himself and was losing all sorts of momentum, and he's going to drop back in. We're single file the whole way through the field for the first time all night long.
Yeah, I'm surprised no one else is trying to make that secondary line work. Although we say that and immediately Kobe Williams pops out to try and make it work, but he is well and truly back from that lead pack, and he is not going to make anything happen or any sort of inroad. So he's going to slot back in to that inside line and slot back in behind Nigel Payton, but all closing up to the back of Ryan Jones, and Jones going to get a bit of a push from Douglas just up the head. But it's all very much a single file affair at this stage as Jones moved very far up the track, possibly a little bit of a wiggle, getting unstable from the fact that he got a push from Douglas mid-corner, but that's going to allow Kobe Williams to try and make something happen, but not quite enough momentum.
Yeah, Kobe Williams was trying to make things happen on the outside when he was the only car out there, not going to work, and you can see now Ryan Jones has decided, I don't want to be at the front or anywhere near the front of this group. I'm just going to take my time, slot in behind. You can also see he's slotted in just behind Matt Danson and Matt Bailey. Now we saw Jaden Russell and Brenton Hobson drop off the back of that group before. Have a look at them. They're just now starting to close back onto the back of the group. And they've brought along Aaron Russell and Ashley Lear with them as well. So see those guys all together in a line now. From first back to 13th, plus one lap down truck in the middle of the group as well. And Jeffrey Aldous, and second group got Dan Yeaman and Mitch McLeod working together. We got Byron Phillips on the back of that group as well. Colin Bruns and Tim Weston are trying to work together and bump draft their way back up to the group. Very, very difficult to do with only 2 trucks versus a 12 truck group, especially now that 12 truck group is back into single file running.
Yeah, they are matching the times of that lead group, though, with those two working together, so they're not really going to be making any gains, but might do if there's a bit of a check-up. So if they keep working together, they might be able to make something happen, and also they'll avoid all the carnage that might ensue as well if we get another caution happening very, very shortly. But these guys at the front, you have to be aware about those lap cars that they're starting to come up on and won't be too far away from as well, with only a handful of laps probably between the two of them.
Yep, exactly right. And one thing I will say that I would be nervous of watching these guys is I'm thinking if I was in this group where Matt Danson is, that is the one spot I would not want to be. Freaking 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th place truck in a 13 truck line. That's not the spot you want to be in these sort of races that have been a little bit action packed, a little bit carnage filled. I don't know if that's the right spot for you. If anyone can handle that sort of position, that is Matt Danson.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. He's probably probably the one driver who's in that position is going to be able to handle it best. But that said, depending on what happens in front of him, he may be able to get away with avoiding it if it's down the back straight or in an area where he's going to be able to get out of the way reasonably quickly and not end up in the carnage. Where if you're someone like Michael Shaw or even Nigel Payton, you're probably going to find yourself in a little bit of strife with the fact that there's going to be cars coming every which way at you, and you're going to want to try and avoid them as best you can, but you're probably not going to be able to. But up to the high side goes at David Douglas, and he's going to let Darren McKenzie on by and slot in the second. So interesting call from Douglas, or maybe not, as Shaw's going to close that gap, and that door has well and truly been shut on Dave Douglas.
Yeah, he's going to drop all the way back to where we saw Ryan Jones drop back to before, unless someone decides to make that outside line work again. I don't think you do at this stage. I think you just stay single file till about 8 to go. Then you start to make your moves and try and work out where you want to be. Remembering that we did have everyone pit under that last caution, which means everyone should have enough fuel to make it home. Higher life, though, could be a different factor. Nigel Payton, interesting one. He did have a short stop just then, but he would have taken one can of fuel. I was trying to think of the right word there. One can of fuel, which will probably have got him up to enough fuel to get it home from there. He take 2 tyres as well, but did take 4 in that first stop. So his tyre life is a little bit worse than everyone else in this group. Matt Danson, another one that didn't take tyres at all in that last pit stop. Surprisingly, still has huge amounts of damage on his truck as well. He's still got that spare in hand if needed.
Yeah, so he's not quite all over if it goes pear-shaped at this point in time, or later on we end up getting a green-white checker, but we'll end up seeing what happens and whether he's going to end up having to limp that damaged thing home and try and make something happen. But it's going to be very, very hard work with all that damage if he has to bring it home in that shape. But everybody's still just continuing to be single file, possibly saving a little bit of fuel and trying to work together as well. You have to think everybody is safe on fuel, but we'll see what's going to happen is you're going to have Aldous trying to make that top line work, but nothing really of avail for his performance at the moment as Danson looks to the inside of Payne when the gap wasn't really there. And what that's done is actually check that entire inside lineup, and around the outside is going to come Aldous, Williams, and also Hyde.
And that'll put Jeffrey Aldous, if he can get clear, back onto the lead lap. He's decided he's going to back out of it and stay wide. But that would have been very, very interesting if we then saw a caution, because he would have been on the lead lap, got himself back to the front. He's decided, no, there's no point me being up there. I'm not really battling with these guys. I'll just be there to help, but not do anything more. Is into the wall, scraping into the wall, goes Caleb Hydes. You could feel that coming, you could sense it coming. There it was, the contact. Slight contact, and then the aero wash, the aero push into the wall. Caleb Hydes drops all the way back to the back of this line and may even lose the draft. No, he's going to be okay. I'm slotting behind Ashley. But from fighting for first down to 13th within a heartbeat, always a little heartbreaking, but the positive is he didn't end up facing the wrong way and end up out of this race.
Yeah, it's just the slightest bit of contact as well between himself and Matt Danson, and forcing it 3 wide on the way into 1 and 2 on what would probably be used in old tyres at this stage. Probably not the smartest idea, but is at least going to stay in the draft and have some form of a chance to try and recover a result from here, as Danson's going to try and make that top side work again this time around, and he's going to have Matt Bailey on the outside with him to try and make that work, but Bailey not quite close enough to have any sort of direct impact, so he's going to end up falling back is Matt Danson. He's still side by side with Nigel Payton, but still very, very much all about making sure you're going to be in the right position here.
Speaking of making himself in the right position, you can see Matt Danson's decided the outside line is now the time to shine, although he's maybe not running at 100% throttle, maybe dropping it back to 95, 98 to maybe slot back into line. Bailey's deciding he wants none of that. He wants to push along, and just having that little bit of aero help from a truck behind can be enough to propel that outside line up. Only 2 trucks on the outside, going to be tough to propel all the way forward. You can see Danson as well, trying to make that side draft work a little bit.
Oh, Jones going through wide as well. Yeah, Jones has recognised that Danson's trying to make that top side work, and he's going to go join him and give him a little bit of a helping hand here on the way into 3 and 4. And it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to work out. You'd think at this stage that outside line is going to start to work quite well for those, especially on the run down to the line, but we'll see what's going to happen. Jones still not quite close enough to make a massive difference or close enough to push at this stage, but Danson slowly starting to draw to the lead of this race at this rate.
Probably need the likes of Bailey to help a little bit more than he was. And maybe one more truck up there too. And you can see Dave Douglas is right there with him as well. You can see that drop down and come back up from the truck of Ryan Jones. It's almost baiting Dave Douglas to say, hey, come on, come up and help. And then he's decided, no, he's not coming up to help. So Ryan Jones has decided, well, I'll come back down and work with that next group. What that did do for Jones, though, it's gained him about 3 spots in that line as well. So we'll be happy about that. In regards to track position, as we cross the line for 13 laps remaining in this one. The second half, no, I'm not going to say it. Not going to say it. We continue on. 21 laps in this stint so far, so everyone will be okay for fuel. Kobe Williams runs very, very deep into turns 1 and 2 and almost hits the wall there. So, seen a couple of pushes there, force trucks going wide, but I don't think that was. I think that was just a little bit too aggressive there from Kobe Williams. Matt Danson gets the push.
Oh, Jones to the wall!
Runs
involved in that as well as a few others. Lear, I think, just made it through that. Not quite sure what actually happened there. Jones did force it 3-1, possibly contact to himself, and Bailey has ended up causing that, and as a result, everybody else in front managing to get away with that one very, very luckily.
I think there may have been contact with, well, yeah, you're right, with Matt Bailey as he ran down the middle. Bailey went to turn in for the corner and maybe not even realise that it was 3 wide, and you can see Bruns there. He didn't even have a chance to react. He was still at full throttle and probably watching other things that were going on. And look at how far around the corner he is. He's still going the wrong way or sliding. Mate, this is the angle we do want to see right now.
It's probably going to be the best angle you can possibly get.
Look at the momentum he had by that point anyway.
Yeah, he had massive momentum, and then just suddenly it was a
like,
car
oh, no.
stopped right in the middle of the road and just basically pinballed straight off both of them, actually. Hit someone else in the process and then just started rolling backwards. Thinking he was in a reversing race, but didn't quite manage to make it work and ended up in the wall as well. And I'd say that truck is probably done.
I would guess as well that truck is done. One more angle we do want to see. See it right. With Matt Bailey, so tucked in behind Matt Danson. At this point, you still can't see that 11 truck. Still can't see the 11 truck. There's the 11 truck. But have a look at how far away from the wall Matt Bailey did start to drift down. I think your initial thinking was right there, Cam. Watch the wall on the side of the track. See, that gap did start to disappear a little bit, and then once, wow, you just saw this little purple light just magically appear.
Yeah, it sort of on that onboard shot, it actually sort of looks like they actually merged together in some respects, but it is not quite that in the end, and ended up being that Bailey's turned in possibly a little bit too early.
So Mackenzie, Shaw, Patton now the top 3 in this one. Jumping into the lane there was Matt Danson, Tim Weston, Kobe Williams, Brenton Hobson, Jaden Russell, Ryan Jones to use his spare truck. Warren Phillips also came in then as well. Still in the lane, Caleb Hydes, Matt Bailey, and Colin Bruns. Ready to undergo signal time by.
Yeah, and also seeing Mizomo's back out on track as well after getting some repairs done. So he's trying to get that, get some sort of points and classification as well out of this race instead of a DNF, but is all the way down on lap 12 and 32 laps down as well. So not going to be winning this race by any stretch of the imagination, but he's at least going to continue to get the laps in and get enough to get some points on the board.
Pushes the lights off right now. Will hopefully lead us to that perfect little 10-lap dash, 9-lap dash that we were sort of expecting that might be the magic number we get. Hopefully from here we stay green. We've still got 1, 2, 3 trucks that have not used their spares. I'm not going to say who they are. I don't want to jeopardize their race in case they've got someone listening in. Because we've unfortunately had that happen before where we've talked up how someone's still got a spare truck left. Being involved in an incident because they've overheard us magically talking about it. So, I'm not going to say a word. I don't want to get accused of anything. That's what I'm saying. You know what I was getting at.
Yep.
Interesting that Aaron Russell and Ashley Lear have found themselves in a very, very good spot right now as well. It didn't pit under that caution. And if we do see back-to-back cautions here, we'll find ourselves entering the time certain zone. Actually, we're not far off the time certain zone as it is. 11 minutes, 11 and a half minutes left on the clock. We've got 10 laps to go. If we get one more caution, I think we're going to go time certain. But for now, we're still going to stick to our 55 lap original race.
I think the big question here as well is who's actually going to win this race, because you've now got Dancer with a brand new car, you've got the SSR cars further back, you've got Jones further back as well, and then you've got obviously those in the lead bunch who've done pretty well for themselves, but Green Flag is in the air and a very, very good jump from that inside line. Mackenzie especially, sure, not really going to be able to do anything about it, and he's going to end up dropping all the way back to where Danson is.
Just missed that launch altogether, didn't he? Probably had a maybe even a missed shift there and through the middle. Jaden Russell. Sorry, that was Dave Douglas. Jaden Russell down to the inside. But he's had an issue there. Interesting too. Aldous got the lucky dog. He's back on the lead lap in this group now too. So actually, no, he's back in the pits. He's got a penalty for speeding on pit exit. So just as he got his lap back, he's now back in the pits under Green Flag, and we'll go a lap down. But 9 to go. The lead group of 4. Only little gap between them. So Kobe Williams here has to be careful when he does get that momentum and comes up onto the group at the front. He doesn't run them over. Doesn't. Byron Phillips tucked in behind him there. Sometimes be a little bit exciting for drivers in these when you do find yourself getting a real good run. But you do mistime it a little bit and end up literally running over the guys ahead of you. You've got such a powerful momentum shift.
Yeah, it sort of looked like everybody bowled up as well on the way into one, with the fact that Jones and Co had some massive speed differential as they were closing on up with the draft, but they've all sorted themselves out, and they're 2 rows deep currently, coming through 3 and 4. Mackenzie actually surprisingly doing very, very well to lead this race at this stage, but here comes Danson around the outside with a bit of a push from Aaron Russell on that outside line. Williams not too far behind as well, so he'll be trying to make something work of things and try and get a result, as well as will be his teammate just in behind of Dan Yeaman.
Matt Danson and Aaron Russell on the outside line, making things work quite well. A wiggle on that bottom line, you can see coming up the field. Darren McKenzie to get a bit of side draft. Actually made it work. Danson's lost all momentum on the outside, and that inside line is working very, very well again. We're also seeing there is Mitch McLeod trying to get his lap back, or one of his laps back. Get himself back onto the lead lap. Also Dan Yeaman in there too. He's 2 laps down as well, but in this pack too. These guys are trying to fight to get onto as many laps up as they can. Because every championship point is going to matter in that mid-group. That's 3 wide there too. Kobe Williams on the outside. That will be nerve-wracking for him. Trying to work out exactly where he is.
Yeah, I think the nerve-wracking one will probably be Ryan Jones, who's at smack in the middle of that little group as well as Yeaman trying to make something happen, but it's not quite going to work in his favour. He's got a massive roadblock in front, as well as Mitchell McLeod, and everybody else behind is Jones nearly in the wall, just barely scrapes it on the way through 3 and 4. Jones trying his best to get to the back of Aaron Russell as they come to the line to get 5 to go this time by. And Yeaman also pushing on that inside to try and make Payton get to the front as well.
See there too, Ryan Jones almost giving a little bit of a side check into Kobe Williams. Almost a little bit of Morse code to say, I don't know why you're trying to make it 3 wide there. All you're going to do is lose ground or potentially take us out. 3 wide at the moment when you're coming through. Oh no!
Oh no!
Ryan Jones just come in there and Aaron Russell drifting down a little bit. Oh, heavy hit in the wall there. Nigel Patton had some bad luck in this one. Caution comes out. We're going to go green, white checker here. Contact between Ryan Jones and Aaron Russell. Aaron, fortunately, his truck is toast.
Yeah, he's unfortunately not had the best of luck in that incident. Got head-on direct impact by Mazomo as well as he was spinning back onto the track. So he will not be happy with that at all. But we kind of did wonder if this was going to happen with the fact that they were 3 wide, and unfortunately it did. And looks like Jones just misjudging the overlap that he had, and unfortunately turning Aaron Russell into the side of man that was on the inside of Nigel Payton.
Yep. And wondering there too, Jones did get a little bit of a push from McLeod, but saying that, yeah, you're right, definitely was a little bit of a misjudgment there from both. As for some reason that video didn't play then to say that we're coming back from replay to live. But interesting getting the lap back once again. I think this is his 3rd lucky dog in this race. Jeffrey Aldis. But he's still not on the lead lap. Still 2 laps down. I might get waved by this time, actually. Will anyone pit for that last set of tyres? I'm going to say no. Not from the front. Maybe from the mid-pack. Maybe those guys that were involved in that incident might come in and get a little bit of damage fixed.
Hobson in.
Hobson in, yeah. Decided, well, I've got nothing to lose. I'm going to take the new tyres. Looking at the timer, got 5 minutes on the clock, so that may be an interesting call. Come in and get tyres now and have yourself a good set of tyres for if we do get another caution coming out. Going to get a natural green white checker here. No, we're not. We're going to go 1 extra lap. Light's still on.
So I think the other surprising thing as well is Byron Phillips has actually found himself in 4th place, back on the lead lap with reasonably clean truck as well after being a lap down. So he's done pretty well to get back onto the lead lap. And there's still a few drivers as well who are in pretty good positions. Hobson with what looks to be a clean car and fresh tyres is going to make very, very light work everybody in front of him if he can get a bit of a push going as well.
We'll have this race extended by 1 lap, so that will get us to 6 laps of racing. We'll restart on lap 5. I think that those 2 laps of racing will be it, regardless of what happens. Be the end of the race after lap 56. Whether we are green or under yellow, I think that will be the end because the clock will be at 0. And we'll see if we can break iRacing again.
Well, hopefully not, but we'll see.
I mean, we
what's gonna
probably
happen.
will. We've done it
Yeah,
before,
probably.
so why not again? Lights go out on the pace car. Race gets extended by a lap. For the countdown, lap countdown timer did increase a lap for a brief moment. Tell you what, countdown, the end of the race is a little bit tighter than we may think. We've got 3.5 minutes left. By the time they come around, they're only going to have 1.5 minutes left on the clock. Or even less.
There's not going to be much left on the clock when we go racing, so it's going to be very, 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 very close, and we might only get a single lap in here, but we'll see what happens. But it's going to get very, very hectic, very, very quickly, that's for sure.
Darren McKenzie and Matt Danson will restart race on the front of the field. Ready to go in second to last round of scrap. This is Stock Car Racing Asia Pacific. Thank you for joining us here on SimSpeed TV. Next week will be the final round of Season 1. And to the Lady in Black. Fact that you probably aren't looking forward to going back to too quickly.
Well, I did get second in the majors race, so I can't complain too much.
Got second, but you know, it was a very, very tough race, and somehow you managed to get a tough old slog for you.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly one of those tracks that is, as they say, too tough to tame. But at the moment, we're going to be focusing on Daytona, which is a little bit easier and more laid back, but it's about to get very, very intense with the green flag in the air and what's going to be probably a 2-lap shootout here on this green-white checkered restart.
We'll restart with just under 2 minutes on the clock, so we will get these 2 laps in one way or another. There's McKenzie. It's a very, very good launch on that inside row, and Matt Danson is left nowhere on the outside line. Going to get absolutely chewed up. Have a look just behind there. That's an interesting little dynamic there. Synergy Sim Racing working together on that third row. Matt Danson sees what's going on. He goes, I want to be a part of that. I want to get involved. That ultimate outside line may be the one that works. Dave Douglas is seeing it as well. He's getting himself positioned to potentially get on that extreme outside. Going to run to the line. We're going to get the white flag this time by McKenzie, Williams, and Ashley Lear has somehow found himself into this one as well. White flag in the air. Wait for it to tick over and tell us confirmation of the final lap. There we go. With 40 seconds left on the clock. Who is going to take this one away? McKenzie's still there. You can see those SSR boys, they're quite content working together rather than helping that other group of Douglas and Danson on the outside. Who will take it though? I think Dave Douglas is looking in a very, very good spot at the moment.
He's looking very, very good at the moment, but he's starting to drop back a little bit from that lead pack, and he's not quite up alongside the leaders at the moment. Kobe Williams is best position, though, or possibly even Ashley Lee as they're going to come out of turn 4, and he's going to look to the inside. Is Kobe Williams. He's going to go nearly down onto the apron. It's going to be drag race to the line, and it's looking like he's just going to get the win in the end, but looks like McKenzie's actually take that one out by 0.03 of a second over Williams, with Douglas rounding out the podium.
Wow, what a finish at the end. Darren McKenzie by 0.03 of a second. As you said, well done to Darren McKenzie. Kobe Williams finishes second. Dave Douglas in third. Ashley Lear in fourth. And Matt Danson finishes in 5th position in the end. Jones in 6th. But what a finish that was. What a battle that was. And what an end to a fantastic race all around. This was the grandstand finish that we were hoping for. Probably not the drivers we were expecting at the start of the race, but what a finish that was. And a great job from Kobe Williams. Just couldn't quite time the run. I must say he had a little bit of a slide up through the mid part of the tri-oval, midway between when he dropped down and from when he got himself into before the finish line. So that was probably what cost him in the end. But a fantastic race. There's the results in the end. Mackenzie, Williams, and Douglas, the top three. Lear in fourth, Matt Danson in fifth, Ryan Jones in sixth, Caleb Hydes finishes in seventh position. Russell and Hobson couldn't work together quite enough in the end to get any higher than eighth and ninth. Jeffrey Aldous finishes in 10th, somehow, even after being a lap down for nearly all of that second half of the race.
Yeah, he did very, very well to come back from that one. Tim Weston's going to come home at 11th, just outside the top 10. Byron Phillips in 12th. Michael Shaw, Nigel Payton, and Matt Bailey to round out the top 15. Mitch McLeod with Daniel Yeaman, Aaron Russell, Colin Bruns, and Daniel Stevens to round out the top 20, with McLeod finishing 2 laps down. Matt Bailey 1 lap down, and Yeaman and everybody else, Skurlock, Mazoma, and Stride, all DNFs, unfortunately.
In post-race coverage in just a moment, but wow, what a race that was. We'll see if anyone does come in for a chat. But I think everyone will be getting their breath back after that one. That was a crazy finish, and a finish we love to see at these races at Daytona. While it was a little bit carnage-filled throughout the mid-phase of the race, that finish definitely made up for it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And as per the normal at Daytona, the absolutely crazy finish, it was certainly put itself on display. So a very, very competitive one, and a very, very long slog for some of these drivers with the number of cautions we had. But we got there in the end, and it was a very, very good finish and well worth the wait.
We'll go to post-race. Grab our race winner. Congratulations, Darren McKenzie. Just got there in the end, but doesn't matter by how much. You still pick up the win. Congratulations.
Oh, it was a hell of a race. I was holding my breath at the end there. I was ready to protest for the pass under the yellow, but I managed to pull the win anyway.
Very, very tough slog, and probably showed that a few drivers are a little bit inexperienced in regards to oval, super speedway oval racing. But for the experienced group there within the field, there was a lot of experienced guys, you being one of them, that have raced a lot of oval racing, a lot of super speedway racing. Did it for that crew, so congratulations. I'm sure a lot of guys that are in that older generation are quite happy that you picked up the win.
Yeah, I'm almost nudging 50 now, so
I wasn't talking about your age, I was talking about experience.
Oh, that too. Yeah, it comes with age.
Talk us through the strategy in the race. Where were you trying to position yourself, and where did you think the best spot to be with one to go was, and how did you try and hold onto that lead, and were you worried about Kobe Williams and even teammates working together throughout that one as well?
Yeah, I was happy, like, throughout the race, I was happy just sitting on the inside. I knew the outside had that push to get to the front. But it's a long race. You got to be there in the last couple of laps, as you've seen. If you're at the front, you're in with the shot. And I was just crossing my fingers that, the guy in third that was behind me at the restart there was willing to push, because if he'd popped out to the high side, I was going to be left high and dry, or low and dry.
We're a little bit worried about some of the guys that were a little bit inexperienced in this sort of racing, about how they would push and whether them pushing could have actually caused bigger issues. But obviously it worked out, but were you worried about that?
No, it was more the 3 wide during the race. There's no need for it. I know it's fun, keeps everyone on their toes, and it's good to be racing for the front there, but that was about the only times it got real sketchy, was when it was 3 going maybe 4 wide at times. As far as the pushing and drafting, it was pretty good most of the time.
Next week, last round of the championship, we head to Darlington. What are your thoughts on Darlington, and are you looking forward to that one?
Yeah, kinda. See how I go. I haven't had a good run in the series so far. Like, tonight's been my best race by far. I always seem to find trouble, like last week in the road course. I think I got in 3 accidents just trying to avoid people bouncing off walls and stuff. So, we'll just see how we go. I do like the track, so I should do alright. Aim for a top 5, hopefully.
Fingers crossed you have a much better result than you have in previous rounds, but tonight you've had the best run of everyone picking up the win. Who would you like to thank?
Just broadcast team there at SimSpeed, guys, for hosting the league, and the team Hyperdrive.
We have it, Darren McKenzie picking up the win, and Cam, let you pick who you're going to have next for a little chat with.
I want to talk to the man who finished in second, Kobe Williams. It nearly got the win, but missed out by 3 thousandths, unfortunately.
Yeah, it was a pretty close race there. It was good racing anyway. It was quite clean at the end there, so it's a good race overall.
Yeah, certainly a very, very strong result. And obviously starting down the back, you had to pass quite a few cars. Was there any point where you possibly thought that you might want to just sit back and be a little bit more cautious with what was possibly happening up ahead? Or was it just more about getting to the front as fast as you possibly could?
I was trying to sit back until, like, say, the last 5 laps, and then we got that late safety car. So then at the end there, I was trying to push right to the front, and then, well, we got close at the end, but that was it.
Well, you head to the track 2 Tough to Tame, or the Lady in Black as some call it, Darlington Raceway for the final round of the season. Thoughts on the track, and any shout-outs you want to give as well?
I don't have that track, so I'm not sure if I'll race, but I'll see what happens, and just thanks to everyone, like the guys put the event on, and good racing from everyone else.
Well, a reasonably happy Kobe Williams there, Jay, and I believe you're going to be standing by with our 3rd place finisher.
Dave Douglas, congratulations on P3. Not quite enough to get there at the end, but what a finish that was. 3 wide over the line, an extra 10 metres, you might have had that.
Yeah, it was tight, guys. Man, there was a lot going on out there. That was a busy race.
Did that feel like it was a full 500-mile race as opposed to only 55 laps?
Oh, yeah, because you're at the front, you're at the back, and swapping positions. Like, these cars are so much fun to race with the package they got on. Man, like, you can come from the back and make the run all the way to the front, then drop back. And I actually did that. There was one point there I was sitting, I think, four back on the inside, and I had nowhere to go with about 7 laps to go, so I thought, bugger it, I'll drop the end of the apron and then just try to go back and right around a lot of them, and then the late caution come out.
So if that late caution didn't come, what were you thinking you may have ended up with there? What was the mindset around that?
The same thing at the end of that race there. I was just going to go hard and try not lift, take every run I got and see where I ended up. If I had to push it 3 wide, we'll go 3 wide, we'll do it. But yeah, it was a really fun race. But yeah, as I said, just the package, man, it was really busy out there. You had a lot going on.
Definitely is a busy track when you've got so many guys so evenly matched. But next week, I don't know if it's less stressful or more stressful. We're headed to Darlington next week. What are your thoughts on Darlington? Are you looking forward to that one, or are you absolutely dreading going to the Lady in Black?
Yeah, well, me and the Lady in Black don't get on so well. She's never treated me kindly, so we got to change that eventually. So we'll see what happens next week. But yeah, it's not my favourite track. So yeah, tonight was good, but we'll see how we go next week.
It's always been mean to me as well, so I don't think you're alone there. Anyone you want to thank, mate, before we let you go?
Mate, just a shout out to the BMX Bandits and the Explore Life, Matty Bakes, and that's it. Just you guys put on the broadcast and the guys put on the league at AOG.
There you have it, Cam. Another fantastic night of racing, and as we said, we head to Darlington. They accidentally popped up on screen before, but we saw a lot of it over the weekend with the major series, and it's going to be a little bit different in the trucks, but it's still going to be a lot of fun, as that's the wrong graphic I'm putting up on screen. We can't multitask when I'm doing this, can I? You start talking so I can click the right button.
Yeah, we head to Darlington Raceway for the final round of the season, and it's looking like it's going to be a very, very good title fight between Matt Danson and a few others who are still scrapping up for a few minor positions as well. It's going to be fascinating to see who's going to end up coming out on top, who's going to end up winning the final race of the season, who's going to be on the podium, and what is going to possibly entail at this final round of the season.
Yep. Make sure you do watch next week here on SimSpeed TV. We bring you all the coverage of the final round of Scrap, first truck series season. We'll wrap up from the Darlington Speedway. Big thanks, Cam, for jumping in once again. Big thanks to all the drivers and the team at AOG for all their help behind the scenes as well. Thank you for watching as well, and be sure to join us next week. As we said, Scrap is going to be an action-packed finale. We head to the Lady in Black. 80 laps ahead for the drivers. Will we see all 80 finish? 80 laps completed, I should say. It's going to be a very, very hectic race. Make sure you join us next week, just after 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Till then, we thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney! Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up to
Oh my god! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go. Oh no, that's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my god.
God, what?